After 15 years of medical school, dental school, and regular school, it's fair to say that I've picked up a thing or two about how to nail exams and use your time efficiently to give you the best score. So here we're going to talk about some tips that I recommend are the highest impact to instantly improve your score when it comes to preparing for exams. So whether you're looking to smash an exam or just to scrape by, here are the most important things that are going to help you improve. The first tip is to put the big rocks in first. You know that analogy of when they're trying to put things in a jar, and if you put the rocks, then the small pebbles, then the sand, you can fit in 50% more than if you do it in any other way. So with this, it's really important to be smart about how you study. The best advice that I can give you from this is one that I got from a book by a guy called Richard Koch, who talks about the 80-20 principle. Now, if you don't know the 80-20 principle, a lot of people get this wrong. Essentially, what it is saying that 20% of the effort is going to get you 80% of the result. So you have to focus on that small area that if you just do that bit, you'll get most of the way there. In the book, he talks about how he did two things to get him a first-class degree at Oxford. The first one was that he went through all the previous papers and worked out the key themes. So he knew that, for example, one question on a certain subject was guaranteed to come up, so that if he knew that really well and just prepared that to get a first class level answer that you could deliver, that he knew that he could smash that question and that would go a long way towards giving a really good score in his exams. The second was he realized that he didn't need to read all of the books. What he worked out was that if there was a book that he needed to read, if he read the introduction, the final chapter, went back to the introduction again, knowing what he's learned from the end, then take a select few chapters that he deems important from what he's gathered from those two chapters and go in and read targeted segments of the important bits from there. So the key takeaway is be smart about what you study. Pick those things that are bankers to come up, that you know are going to come up all the time. Know them really, really well so that you can't just know a little bit about them, but when they come up, you will absolutely nail those questions, and that is going to give you a really high score. The second is to think intelligently about how you spend your time. I want to introduce to you two characters that are going to be part of your revision plan. Firstly is the mind, the second is the brain. The mind is vast and far-reaching and is the source of all human knowledge and ingenuity. But your brain is the dumb dog that you have to train. It is that thing that you have to say, okay, let's just do a couple of hours and then we'll give ourselves a treat. Your brain is stupid, your mind is expansive. So what you have to learn is to train your brain to get you and trick you into doing the exam stuff that you need to do. I actually make a video about how to trick your brain into studying here, but basically what you want to do is train it to make sure that you do the important stuff first. The second thing is you actually need to tell your brain how long you're going to study for. Imagine if you said to somebody, all right, we're going to the gym and I'm not going to tell you how long we're going for, we're just going to go there until we've had enough. That will drive people crazy. If you say to somebody, okay, we're going to go to the gym for an hour, we're going to work hard, and then we're going to go home and then relax and kind of give ourselves a treat as a reward, then it's a lot more easy to motivate that brain to do that thing. So it's so important. And when I was studying medicine, this was so true, is that it's so much better to do 2 really productive, focused hours where something really sinks into your brain and you remember it and know it really well, rather than 4 hours of being unfocused and kind of feeling like you've covered a lot of ground, but actually none of it is stuck. The final tip with scheduling is whatever you think you can do, cut that in half. The most stressful thing about preparing for exams is that I would make this schedule and then about 2 days in I'd realize that I'd only done literally half of it. I'd get stressed out of my mind, spend another day rescheduling everything and just waste so much time on stress and kind of useless time that just didn't go towards doing productive stuff. So the most important way I would say is going about it is to do a retrospective timetable. So instead of looking forward at what you plan to do, just at that moment, pick the most important thing that you need to do at that time. And then at the end, look back and make a record of what you have done previously to just give you an overview of what subjects you've covered and what's left to go. Again, with the retrospective timetable, I have done a guide for how to do that here, which I'd highly recommend that you watch. Actually, if you're applying to medicine in the UK and specifically want some advice as to how to get into medical school, as it is so complicated and so competitive these days, I recommend that you check out my channel where I show you loads of videos of everything that you need to do that's going to give you the best chance of getting in. This next one will come as no surprise. Have a guess at what the biggest productivity killer is. Drum roll, please. And of course, it is that lovely little thing that buzzes in your pocket every day. Your phone is so unbelievably distracting. The productivity difference that you can get from just this technique alone is unbelievable. If you can have 2 hours, like we say, so train that dog, tell that brain, we're going to go for it for 2 hours. Put your phone aside, go for a pee, get some water ready. Don't be near Netflix where the next new series of Better Call Saul summoning you. Just go for it. Have some time to just really get into it. Then you can take a break, go watch Better Call Saul, go watch whatever the hell you want. But then you can have that break and know that you can come back and tell yourself that you're very capable of doing 2 really good hours. You'll feel so good about that, and that will encourage you to, after you've taken a break, come back and do another stint. The next thing you need to think about is how you actually engage with the material. The biggest mistake that I made when I was at medical school was thinking that I needed to copy out all the notes, have it in my handwriting, and that would somehow magically transfer it to my brain. What you need to do is engage with the material in your own way. There's that saying that something once taught is twice learned, and it's so true, because if you can take that material in and explain it to somebody else, it means that you have a level of understanding that is required to fill in all the gaps that might be needed when you're explaining it to somebody else. So when you're engaging with material, just do whatever you need to do to make sure that you truly understand it. If you can say, all right, here's what it is and this is how it works, and kind of just go through the whole path in your head of exactly what the knowledge involves, then you can show that you understand it enough to explain it to somebody else. Later in the video, I'll talk about how you can actually mix that material up and digest it in different forms that's going to attack your brain from different ways to make sure that it really sticks. Another important thing to stop yourself going exam crazy is to manage your emotions. There are 2 things that I would say are probably the biggest and most important factor that's going to help you. So whether it's during stress, actually when you're preparing for exams, or immediately before, the number one way to get out of stress is physical movement. So exercise when you're preparing is so important. There's that old adage of when you go to the gym, you might be stressed, but you're never stressed leaving the gym. The workout will reset your nervous system and actually just get you a lot more relaxed so that you can tackle the studies when you come back to them a lot more effectively. The next tip is to put yourself in exam mode. Get into that frame of mind where it's actually game time. As we were talking with kind of footballers before, or maybe with actors, we have a dress rehearsal, right? Where we practice and kind of get used to that simulation of the stress and the kind of pressure of the exam. So it's really important to do mocks. And one of the important things that I would say is to actually practice at the time that your exam is. So let's say if you have an exam at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you're used to revising and being kind of in game mode at 9 a.m., you're not going to quite be in the same frame of mind at the same time. You can really quite quickly train your brain to do this in a couple of days of just making sure that you're engaged at that time, so that when it comes to the game day, your brain is like, it's on at the time that you need to be prepared and really need to be on it. Next is the thing I was talking about before, about engaging with the material to attack your brain from all different angles. One of the things that best helped me with medical school preparation is when I read something in a book, sometimes it just didn't stick to me, or it didn't kind of come alive, and I couldn't visualize what the treatment was like, or maybe what the symptoms would be like for a patient. So actually the best way to do that was to look at a YouTube video of somebody suffering with that disease and seeing what they looked like, the features of that disease, and you can see them in a video on their face, them talking about the pain or the type of pain that they get from that particular disease. That is such an important way to kind of think of the visual one, the reading one, and then all different ways. You can do auditory as well, but it's just whatever it does to make that material or that particular thing come to life for you so that it sticks in your brain. That is the quickest way to kind of access that room within your brain that has all the information stored. And that brings me on to my 8th habit, which is advanced memory techniques. One of the ways that we've evolved to remember things is via pictures. That's because as humans, we need to remember if there's a poison berry or something that's dangerous, we need to associate that image with danger or with something that could give us food or shelter or whatever that is. So as an example, I'm going to ask you to remember all the 5 Great Lakes in America. I'm going to tell you them now. See if you can pause the video and remember them and recite them back to me. They are Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior. Now, by themselves, they might be difficult to remember, but as a mnemonic for that, we can remember the word homes. So H-O-M-E-S. And I bet you now that you think of the word homes, you can picture maybe Sherlock Holmes, and you'll associate that picture with them sitting on a lake, and because it's the American lakes, they might be holding a flag of America, of the USA, and of Canada. If we want to remind ourselves that it's a different spelling of Holmes, we could actually get Sherlock Holmes to be sat on a number of houses to remind us that it's the Holmes spelling H-O-M-E-S rather than the usual H-O-L-M-E-S. So Now that you've got that, can you remember what the 5 lakes are?
Where the Great Lakes.
The reason this is so important is because, like I said before, you store things, it's almost like a room in your memory. What you need to do is find the door and find the key to access that memory. And once you have that initial gateway to get in, like I say, with an image and a mnemonic to get you there, that is enough to open the door. And then once you can access the room, all the memories will come flooding back to you. My final habit is that you need to learn how to be a stone cold exam assassin. What you need to do is be absolutely ruthless and methodical with your time when it comes to the exam. If you have 3 questions and 50% is allocated to one of them, make sure that you're spending 50% of your effort and time on that question. It's just common sense, but what you need to do is really practice getting into that real methodical, when you're under pressure, thinking smartly about how you're going to allocate your time. Exam technique is, like I say, something that you really need to practice in the run up to it so that it's not something new and completely new territory when you come up to it. It sounds so obvious, but the complete opposite happens in so many people, and this is why they mess up exams. So people come in stressed out of their mind, not rested, overworked, and actually just lose sight and panic when it comes to the exam. If you can really prepare yourself and get your mind ready that you're going to go in there, you're going to breathe deeply, you're going to be calm, you're going to assess everything that you need to know about the exam or kind of what you need to do for the whole exam before you start. Take those 30 seconds, maybe up to 2 minutes, just to understand what you need to know for that exam. And then you can really kind of prepare your mind to allocate your time intelligently and deliver the best performance you can for that exam. So if you're applying to medical or dental school, here are some really valuable resources that are going to set you in good stead for your application. Otherwise, if you're trying to plan your revision timetable, check out this video here that's going to give you a really easy schedule that's going to take out a lot of stress from it. So thanks for watching, and now it's time for you to go out there and absolutely smash those exams.